It's officially September, Potter fans, which means it's almost time for rainy nights, blankets, hot chocolates and movie marathons, because Harry Potter season is upon us. But whilst the 1st of September marks the unofficial start of Harry Potter season in the Muggle world, it's also an incredibly significant date in the books themselves, because the 1st of September is the day that Hogwarts students return to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The 1st of September is always one of the most exciting parts of every Harry Potter book, knowing that we're heading back for another year full of adventures and mystery. But it's got me thinking, which book does it best? Which is why I'm here today. I'm going to rank the 1st of September in every Harry Potter book from worst to best. Criteria I'm going to consider will include how fun it is to read, how much interesting stuff happens, and if interesting stuff to come is set up on the 1st of September itself. So without further ado, please do hit subscribe and turn on post notifications if you love Harry Potter. You'll love everything we do here. But for now, let's get started with number 7, The Deathly Hallows. It should come as no surprise to anybody that last place on this list is the only book where the trio don't actually return to Hogwarts on September the 1st. Because let's face it, it's just never going to be as good. Now don't get me wrong, interesting stuff does happen on the 1st of September in Deathly Hallows. At this point in the book, they are hiding out at Grimmauld Place after the disaster at the wedding, and on the morning of the 1st discover that Severus Snape is the new headmaster of Hogwarts from reading the Daily Prophet. But the most interesting thing that happens on this day is it's actually the day that they decide to break into the Ministry the following day, where as we know they'll plan to try and steal the Locket Horcrux from Dolores Umbridge. So this day is genuinely really exciting, and I love this period with the Deathly Hallows when we're just plotting and planning to steal Horcruxes. But again, I go back to what I said before, any 1st of September where we're not on the Hogwarts Express going back to start another adventure at Hogwarts is always going to be worse than when we are doing just that. So unfortunately by default this book was always going to be last place. A quick mention though, because technically the epilogue in this book does take place on September the 1st, but if you've seen my last video where I discussed the worst chapter in every Harry Potter book, spoiler alert, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of the epilogue anyway, so it'll probably still be in last. In 6th place, The Order of the Phoenix. It certainly hasn't shocked me that of all the books where the trio do actually return to Hogwarts on the 1st of September, that my least favourite comes from my least favourite book, which is book 5, Order of the Phoenix. To be honest, this day in this book is actually not too bad. There are some interesting bits, but compared to others, it's a little bit underwhelming. It's a pretty standard Hogwarts Express trip, the most notable factor being that Ron and Hermione, being prefects, are now not sitting with Harry for the majority of the journey, meaning Harry ends up spending his time with the Silver Trio, which is Neville, Luna and Ginny. And this is the first time we meet Luna, which is cool, and I do enjoy getting to spend more time with side characters. It's just not that thrilling. We get an awkward show interaction, the usual Draco interaction, and an introduction to the Quibbler, which is fun, but when you look at some of the major plot points that happen on this day in other books, this is kind of just here, and doesn't really get going until you get to Hogwarts, where it picks up a little bit because we get the Sorting Hat's new song, which is very good foreshadowing, and the main highlight of this day is Dolores Umbridge's first speech in the Great Hall at Hogwarts, which as we know from Hermione sounds like a lot of waffle but actually contains a lot of interesting information. But despite that, nothing major is actually happening on this day. It's kind of just setting up things that are going to happen that are more fun down the line. This section of the book has got a decent amount of information but not loads, and doesn't have anything that thrilling happening on the day itself, hence why it's low down on the list. Number 5, The Goblet of Fire. Once again, if you've seen my last video discussing the worst chapter in every Harry Potter book, you might remember that my least favourite chapter in this book is actually aboard the Hogwarts Express, which kind of answers why this book is relatively low on the list, because it's just a bit of a nothing chapter. The chapter is just your typical arrive at King's Cross, get on the train and go to Hogwarts chapter. We don't really learn much information and not a load of stuff happens. It's basically just used as a huge foreshadowing chapter with everybody teasing the Golden Trio that something massive is going to happen at Hogwarts, but they don't know about it. Once again, it's absolutely fine. It's not an offensive chapter. It's not bad, but it's just full of kind of nothingness. But in that case, how has it still managed to wind its way up to the top 5 of the list? Well, that's because the 1st of September actually spans over 2 chapters in this book, and also includes the following chapter, the Triwizard Tournament, where, as the name suggests, we learn that Hogwarts will be hosting the Triwizard Tournament. We also learn more things about what's going to be going on at Hogwarts that year, including the introduction of Mad-Eye Moody as the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and the concept of other characters being around Hogwarts, such as students from other schools, Barty Crouch, Ludo Bagman, etc., is introduced in this chapter. It's still very much a not a lot's going to happen here, but we're going to set up some more interesting stuff to happen in the future chapter, which is why it's still not going to break into the higher spots of the list for me. But I do think at the very least, learning about the Triwizard Tournament makes this more interesting than Umbridge's speech in Order of the Phoenix, hence why it has managed to land itself a top 5 spot. Number 4, The Half-Blood Prince. 1st of September in The Half-Blood Prince is simply action-packed. I wouldn't say it contains the major events of the books we've still got left to discuss on this list, but just lots of things going on at once that reveal some fun information and really get your mind going about where this book is leading. Firstly, on this Hogwarts Express trip, Harry is invited to the Slug Club, the meeting Slughorn organises with fellow students who are connected to influential people or just have an interesting past, or in the case of Ginny Weasley have demonstrated they've got a great hex on them. This is an interesting meeting which displays Slughorn's character early on and foreshadows the importance of Harry establishing a relationship with Slughorn to get information about Horcruxes out of him later. And just when you think that that's enough fun on one Hogwarts Express journey, we get Harry going off to spy on Draco, where Draco appears to be bragging a little bit and discussing this job that he's been given to do. He doesn't say too much, but it reinforces what we learnt in Spinner's End chapter 2, that we need to keep a close eye on what Draco Malfoy's up to in this book. And of course, at the end of that chapter, Draco attacks Harry because he catches him spying on him. And that's kind of that. We then obviously get the follow-up going up to Hogwarts to the sorting ceremony. As usual, Harry's missed most of it because he's late, but Dumbledore does say some ominous words about everybody being aware that Lord Voldemort has returned and that they do need to proceed with caution. I would argue that everything that happens in the Great Hall in this book is less interesting than what happens in the Goblet of Fire when we learn about the Triwizard Tournament, but then the Hogwarts Express journey is so much more interesting than in Goblet of Fire, which is why I have ever so slightly put this book higher. It's a close one, but who doesn't love an exciting Hogwarts Express journey, which gave this one the edge. Number 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban. Okay, so anyone switched on will have realised that the top 3 on this list are the first 3 books in the series, and I really don't think that's a coincidence. I do think that Back to Hogwarts Day is bigged up a little bit more in the early books. Unlike our last entry that just had a few semi-important things happening, the journey back to Hogwarts in Prisoner of Azkaban can be summed up by one crucial event, and of course that's the Dementor appearing. To me, I love this because not only is it brilliant at setting up what's going to be happening in the rest of this book, but it also does a great job of really shaking up what at this point we think the typical timeline of a Harry Potter book is. You see, up until this point in the series, the first 2 books kind of followed a similar pattern. We start off light, we go back to Hogwarts, everyone's happy, and then we start to get the idea that something kind of not good is going on. At first, this doesn't have a massive effect on the trio, but it's just raising their suspicion. Then a couple of things start to happen that do affect the trio, and this eventually leads into some big final battle where Harry has to save the day. Basically, we start slow and amp up the pace as we go. Prisoner of Azkaban threw that all out the window and chucked a Dementor attack in the opening part of the book. It catches you off guard as the reader and shows you that this book is going to be more on edge, given that for the majority of this book we know that Sirius Black is out on the loose and we assume that he's trying to kill Harry. This attack establishes Harry's fear of Dementors early doors, which allows that to be used as a theme throughout the book all the way. And one of the best things about this moment though is it introduces us to the character of Remus Lupin and establishes early doors that this guy is not like our past 2 Defense Against the Dark Arts teachers. This is actually a teacher we can trust who means business, who understands the subject and might actually be an ally and a friend to Harry, which is great. Also a shout out because this is when we find out that Hagrid has become the new Care of Magical Creatures teacher, which makes him really happy. And who doesn't love a happy Hagrid? Number 2, The Chamber of Secrets. Let's face it, September the 1st in Chamber of Secrets is very different to the rest of the Harry Potter books. And in some ways, maybe some people don't like that because we don't get the usual Hogwarts Express, Great Hall, sorting ceremony journey. But as a one-off, this is the kind of fun mayhem I can absolutely get behind. Of course, this is the year where Harry and Ron can't get through the barrier at platform 9 3/4, which in itself is very interesting foreshadowing, especially as we've already had that first meeting with Dobby where he warns Harry not to go back to school. Harry and Ron then decide to fly Mr. Weasley's flying Ford Anglia car all the way to Hogwarts, which is actually a really fun setup for how close Harry and Ron are going to be throughout this book. Especially given Hermione being petrified, Harry and Ron really do have to become a bit more of a duo rather than the trio for a bit, and this is the first of their duo adventures, and it is so fun. You can just imagine being 12 years old in a flying car, flying all the way to school. It just sounds amazing. We get the chaotic arrival where they smash into the Whomping Willow tree, which, hey, little did we know at the time would be foreshadowing for the next book as well. Before they're of course caught, and we assume they're probably going to get kicked out of school, if it weren't for the fact we've got quite a few pages left to go, so I'm not sure how they'd have filled the story if they'd have kicked them out of school. It's a little bit different to the other books in this list that are very information heavy. This is basically just an adventure in itself. But you know what? Does that not just make it incredibly fun? It certainly does for me, and that's why it's ranked in our top 2. But of course, it was never going to be number 1, was it? Because that was always going to go to number 1, the Philosopher's Stone. I think we all saw this one coming, didn't we? When you think of the 1st of September and back to Hogwarts Day, you immediately think of Harry's first trip to Hogwarts. The day he meets the Weasley family, the day his friendship with Ron officially begins, the day we first meet Hermione, the day we meet pretty much everybody at Hogwarts, the day that Harry's suspicion of Snape is established, the day that Harry is sorted into Gryffindor, and nearly sorted into Slytherin. This day in this book is just packed with so much fun stuff going on, and is the start of so many of our adventures to come. There's a reason why on Back to Hogwarts Day around the world, most Potter fans choose to either reread this book or rewatch the Philosopher's Stone movie, because Harry's first trip to Hogwarts is one of the best moments and most iconic moments in the entire series, and is so deserving of first place on this list. But that's that. Please leave a comment and let me know what you thought of my list, and if you're feeling up to it, why not write out your list and your reasonings below as well. Please do hit that subscribe button, it really helps us to keep doing this. We post so much Harry Potter content that I promise you will absolutely love, and I've got other accounts here and on TikTok that are linked in the description, make sure to check them out too. Thanks for watching everybody, have a great day.